Boom! And we are live once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all having a fabulous Friday. Thank you very much for joining us in this live stream. And as it is Friday, we're going to be going back and taking a look at some of the interesting things we have found in the week just past. We're going to be talking about quite a bit during the course of this hour or so live stream. What's up in the chat? I can see your comments coming in. Keep them coming, guys. And a like is always appreciated throughout this video. As always, it helps us go or reach a further audience. So we're going to be doing some really interesting things in this live stream. We're going to be starting the video off by looking at some Bitcoin charts. Then we are going to be talking about Bitcoin miners and the importance of the likes of the United States maintaining a dominance in regards to Bitcoin miners. We are very, very bullish on Bitcoin miners. We think there's some great opportunities, some altcoin-like opportunities in the form of Bitcoin mining equities. So we're going to be sharing with you guys a number of different Bitcoin miners, talking about potentially the impacts of the election that's coming up in the United States in regards to Bitcoin miners. Certainly we'll look at some tweets from Trump. I think both parties have came out and have been rather kind of friendly towards crypto. Of course, they're going to, because there are a lot of people out there that are cryptocurrency holders within the United States, and their vote may be swayed on the back end of that issue. So we will be talking about all of that. And then we're going to be talking about Coinbase. Now, Coinbase is a stock that we have been pretty damn bullish on for a while now. And it very much seems, first of all, we know there is an intersection between AI and crypto. Crypto is actually going to enable AI in many ways. One of the ways it's going to do that is by allowing it to interact with the world. We're going to be talking about how Coinbase enabled AI to AI payments. This doesn't seem that significant, but it is. And then also there was a recent podcast that was done by Cointelegraph where they interviewed Coinbase's COO, Chris Feng, who actually discussed more broadly how there's an intersection between crypto and AI. And I think Coinbase is actually going to become a bit of an AI company, as well as, the cryptocurrency exchange, the custodian of all the Bitcoin that the ETFs hold, and more broadly afield, the custodian of the cryptocurrency space. From an institutional point of view, it's not just going to be Bitcoin. We know they also custody the Ethereum ETFs, likely the Solana ones, and probably, and this is where we're going to take the live stream towards the end, is we're going to be looking at the XRP news in regards to Grayscale facilitating an XRP trust. Even Eric Balanchunas, who of course is the guy really to follow in regards to ETFs, not just within the US, but further afield, is chiming in on this and saying, he's having a bit of a deja vu moment. So let us kick the video off. Lucky Friday, the 13th, indeed. We'll see how the cryptocurrency markets fare. Let's kick the video off and let's just start with the Bitcoin chart. Now, there's a lot of things, both internally and externally, in regards to the cryptocurrency space that give us a bullish narrative. We've spoken at great length, and we continue to do so on the daily market updates, in regards to what's going to drive the markets, what's going to drive global liquidity, what's going to see all these cycles that overlap, whether that be the global liquidity cycle, whether that be the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, the PMI cycles, the business cycles, the election cycles. All those cycles point to a good time ahead for the markets. And the driver of that is largely going to be the Federal Reserve, the largest manipulator of money in the world. The sole reason really why Bitcoin was created, to move away from the restraints that are put on all of us, or the kind of slavery, if you will, that's put on all of us by the monetary system, and certainly the proliferation of it. Now, the Dixie, in our opinion, is very much coming down on the back end of Fed interest rates coming down. And this is what's going to see risk do well. There's a big correlation between certainly Bitcoin and every bull market it's had having something to do with dollar weakness, but assets more broadly. And fundamentally, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? If the dollar's strong and people are going into it, they're going out of markets, and vice versa. So we've spoken at great length about the macro drivers and more sort of externally to the crypto space, dividing Bitcoin by some of the assets out there like the S&P, looking at why it's going to do so well. But when we look at the Bitcoin chart, there's a lot of confluence in regards to technical patterns that we have. And the more imminent one is potentially this bull flag that has formed at the low of the right shoulder back in January 2024, all the way up until today. So this is your actual flagpole. Really stops at March the 18th. And then you've been in a flag-like structure, a descending, broadening structure. Remember, your pullbacks in an uptrend are descending, vice versa. Your pullbacks in a downtrend are ascending. So this is still a broad uptrend. The trend, and anybody that's interested in simple technical analysis, just learning basic trends is far more valuable than I think many people give it credit for. The trend is still very much intact and very much still an upward trend. And the trend is your friend, and certainly we know that. And when you can compound all the technical patterns that we're looking at here, you get a very bullish picture in regards to Bitcoin. So we have this bull flag taking us up to 130K. Of course, we're currently still flagging. We'll zoom in just a second. Then we've got this broader inverse head and shoulders. Markets typically go up and down in a kind of head and shoulder-esque fashion. It's called nestling head and shoulders. You see this time and time again. Some of the examples we're going to look at, you'll see this in also. But we do have 151K for this inverse head and shoulders that we see. Nice little puny right shoulder. And then potentially one thing that we've been looking at recently is the possibility of a cup and handle in regards to Bitcoin and the current structure. You know, your handle is very much aligned with your flag. Also, when you take a key level of significance, like what this neckline was, resistance, previously support in the prior sort of what we would call a phase 3, the topping phase of the last bull market, it's very common that you get a retest, just like you did over here when you broke this neckline on the smaller time frame. Let's actually zoom in here to show you that. If we're going to talk about it, we should be able to show it. When you break a key level, you typically come back for a retest. And Bitcoin got pretty damn close to it, obviously, on the back end of what took place with the JPY carry unwind. And we've also used that. There's a silver lining in the JPY carry unwind and the events of that Monday, because really what that highlights is the effects of the Forex market in regards to the broader markets. You have a central bank, the Bank of Japan, that upped their interest rates, thus leaned on the risk markets through strengthening their currency. The adverse of that is about to happen with the largest central bank. Europe yesterday lowered by 25 basis points. Today we're getting a lot of news, actually, that the Fed, it's my opinion, it has been for a while, that I think the Fed are going to do a 50 basis point rate cut. I think that is quite likely. Because why wouldn't they? And if you look at traditional sort of easing cycles from a rate point of view, they don't happen in an orderly fashion. They typically happen rather fast. We've also destroyed, I think, that idiosyncrasy that every time the Fed lower interest rates, the markets crash. We looked at a Schwab's report. Out of the past 14 times the Fed have lowered interest rates, the S&P 12 months later from the first time they did the first cut, out of the 14 times, only 2 of them have led to a lower S&P. The other 12 times, the S&P's actually gone on higher. And we think, you know, there's lots of confidence. But to get back to the topic at hand, because I'm digressing here and sort of talking about more further out of field reasons to why we're bullish, there's a lot of confluence. And this is the recent structure that we looked at. And actually, when we got to all-time highs, we did say it was very likely that resistance was going to act exactly as that. And we've actually gone on to show you guys a number of examples. And I want to do that again to start the video off as we're talking about TA. A number of examples of other charts that were where Bitcoin is today, but went on higher. There are tens, potentially hundreds. If I was to go through, hundreds of stocks, I would see this sort of structural move playing out for markets more broadly. An asset gets to an all-time high, it's likely going to find that as resistance. It's a great place to take profits or to see resistance come into play. It's likely going to consolidate. You can see here, this is VanEck Semiconductors in much the same way that Bitcoin is. Again, to flick back to Bitcoin very quickly, you can see the consolidation before then embarking on a broader uptrend. And we think this is to come for Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. This is very common. You can even see not just is the pullback common, but also the kind of toe into the water, if you will, of new all-time highs. Then a consolidation, a pullback, a descending pullback in what is a broader uptrend. Remember, market structure very much intact. Still today, actually, on VanEck Semiconductors, your market structure is still intact. We have a higher price prediction for VanEck Semiconductors in much the same way that we're predicting that $309,000 Bitcoin. And I personally think where we are in regards to the cycles, things are really going to start to get, these bull markets don't take long to play out. A year or so, and you could certainly be 150K we're quite confident on. there's absolutely the potential for overperformance, certainly as we get into that euphoria sort of end stage of the bull markets. But to stick to the topic at hand, really, what we're highlighting here, you can see inverse head and shoulders here, just like we're predicting that 151k was met. This we put all these price predictions in pre them being met, by the way. Pullback at all-time highs, continuation of broader uptrend. Microsoft's another great example. And we teach phase analysis. So the market moves. You've all seen the Wall Street cheat sheet. Seems a little bit gimmicky, doesn't it? But actually, it's a true market cycle. And really what the Wall Street cheat sheet's doing is it's pinpointing emotions. And I'm sure many of us have sort of lived through that entire cycle. I certainly have on a number of occasions. But the markets do move in cycles. You can see all of these are great examples of it. But again, bear market, sort of phase one base, phase two uptrend. You run into all-time highs. You put a toe above it, just like you did or have done with Bitcoin. Then you consolidate in a very volatile manner before seeing that broader continuation and upside. This is what is to come for Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. And this is just one technical pattern that we have on top of many that all point to Bitcoin, on top of a macro picture that all point to Bitcoin going higher and seeing broader price movement to the upside. It's not a bearish picture. September, I understand the kind of emotions that have been attached to the market, certainly since we've been doing this. And this hasn't been a non-volatile pullback. Some of these moves within this flag have been 20+%. You can imagine the altcoins really have just capitulated under that weakness from Bitcoin. They will reassert on Bitcoin's strength. Your bull market is coming, ladies and gentlemen. And I think this is going to be a bit bigger bull market than perhaps any that we've seen previously. I think this is going to be a bull market that XRP is going to take part in. We'll talk about that towards the end of the video. I know many of you perhaps aren't XRP fans. It's totally fine, but it's our opinion technically and fundamentally that it's going to do very well. So we've shown you semiconductors, VanEck Semiconductor ETF. We've shown you Microsoft. Obviously, the DAX did a very similar thing. Again, the DAX was a chart we got very right from predicting this down here. You can see just how much of a key level this was. This was in and around where you sold off. Toe above all-time highs, pullback, volatile manner before continuation. This is where Bitcoin is today, ladies and gentlemen. Also, we've got the NASDAQ composite. So not only did it do a version of this, albeit short-lived, things rhyme more than repeat. Really when we talk about technical analysis, all we're doing is spotting patterns that have a track record of playing out in a certain manner, playing out again. And what that will do is if we know something has performed 9 times out of 10, that's good odds. We don't know the future. How could we possibly know it? But what we can do is increase our probabilities of being right on it. And that's kind of what we're doing at the moment in regards to looking at Bitcoin's current structure and prior structures that have gone before it that have done the same thing Bitcoin's doing today and gone on and put in higher prices. You can see again, taking a key level, coming back for a retest. This is the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's a great example because there isn't just one example of this. If you go back in the NASDAQ's history, and we can show you this, again, all-time highs, toe above it, pull back, shouldering, continuation to the upside. This might be how our bull market looks into a crash that the yield curve's predicting. I don't think that crash comes. We've very much been against the kind of demand destructive event is imminent side of things, the bear side of things. And we've said, actually, no, we think it comes later on. And we think there's a lot of data to support that, certainly technically, when we look at the charts. Again, another example for the NASDAQ. Certainly, if you go back to sort of the 2008 post sort of era, you can see what we're looking at here. Toe above all-time highs, consolidation, continuation in a broader uptrend. This is what is to come for Bitcoin. And you can just see market cycles playing out time and time again. That's all you guys need to learn. We truly care about people and we want people to do well in the markets. And I don't think some people want to be taught how to fish, and that's fine. But when you can understand how markets move in this kind of ebb and flow, this wave-like structure, the world is yours. It truly is. And again, you can see this is another great example. Obviously, gold is a big macro example. I think I might have the Nifty 50 example on here. I could have shown you hundreds of these, but just for the sake of time, we've got a lot to cover in this live stream, as always. Breakout, toe above, consolidation. Let's take a look at the Nifty. By the way, gold, one reason we're bullish on Bitcoin is because we're bullish on gold. Bitcoin is in an uptrend against gold. We were calling for 260. Wow, that'd be going backwards. $2,600 gold. And you can, and this was pre this break here. There was a confluencing pattern to a broader pattern taking place here. You can see just how well this has marched towards its sort of target. And Bitcoin is in an uptrend against this. It's pulling back. Obviously, since March, it's been pulling back broadly. I'll show you one more example, which, of course, is the Nifty 50. You can see, again, this one didn't quite put a toe. It really respected that resistance, but pulled back in this flag-like structure before basing and seeing that continuation. This is Bitcoin today, ladies and gentlemen. Your time is coming. You've just got to hang in there. One thing, I think one of the most important trait cryptocurrency investors, successful ones, have is their ability to withstand volatility. It's not an easy thing. You know, certainly in the altcoin market, which I'm predominantly in, we make no bones about that. Even though we were some of the few people calling for Bitcoin's bottom at the sort of 16K mark, we could have played Bitcoin dominance so much better. Bitcoin dominance is still to roll. The cycle is still to repeat. If you look at historical Bitcoin 4-year cycles, where we are today for the altcoin market is exactly where it should be. Bitcoin is the anomaly in this cycle, along with Ethereum and perhaps Solana, due to institutional inflows, which I think is a far more bullish takeaway than it is a bearish one. The altcoins will benefit. We'll talk about Ripple and future ETFs and things like this towards the video. So if we can get the camera back on me, what we are now going to do, ladies and gentlemen, is we are going to be talking about, first of all, let's just share this very, very quickly. MicroStrategy today has acquired another 18,300 BTC for $1.11 billion. Where's he getting all this money from? At $60,408 per Bitcoin, and has achieved BTC yields of 4.4% quarter over quarter and 17% year to date. As of the 9th of September, or the 12th of September 2024, we hold 244,800 Bitcoin acquired for 9.4 billion at an average price of 38,558. So this is MicroStrategy done very well. I clown Michael Saylor because of his dumb arguments like how many chairs are you sat on. I think we sit on multiple chairs a day. I'm not going to spend all day on this chair. I'll probably go and sit on the couch a bit later on. I'm going out for dinner later, so I'll sit on a restaurant chair, you know, so on and so forth. The crypto space is far more broad than just Bitcoin. But MicroStrategy adding to their sort of horde, MicroStrategy likely going to do well. Let's get the camera back on me, and then we are going to be diving into the next segment that we have for you, which is cryptocurrency miners and why they are so important. So what I want to do, guys, is go ahead and pull up the tab so that I can share the audio with you. This is extremely interesting what we're about to share with you, because this is Marathon Digital's CEO, Fred Thiel, talking about Bitcoin is a national security concern for this country. And of course, he's talking about the United States. The US must maintain a dominance, not just in Bitcoin mining, but also in the holding of Bitcoin assets in the US companies. Now, this is interesting. It seems rather far-fetched, doesn't it, that the US may need to maintain dominance in regards to Bitcoin and sort of Bitcoinerize. But actually, I believe it makes a hell of a lot of sense. Certainly when you look at the internet, one of the reasons the US is the most powerful country in the world is because of Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, US companies. They have a huge leverage across the world. Why do you think China doesn't let any of the US's companies in China? And why do you think we don't allow Chinese companies in certainly the UK and US and Europe more broadly? Because there's a huge amount of data. And remember, data is, for all intensive purposes, value in this world. And it's going to become more and more the case. So the US had to get on board that technology and maintain a dominant role. I think with Bitcoin, certainly as we see countries Bitcoinerize and Bitcoin mining becomes crucial and integral to a more Bitcoinized world, the US is going to have to step in and play a role. So what I want to do, guys, is go ahead and play this clip for you. Then we're going to talk more broadly about the opportunity that is Bitcoin miners. Remember, we're bullish on Bitcoin. Bitcoin miners are a higher beta play. And we'll show you some miners, and then we'll move on to Coinbase AI and some things like this. So I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, and then we'll continue with the video. So I'll need my mic muted.
Bitcoin is of national security concern for this country. Russia is the world's second largest Bitcoin mining nation. Countries that operate on a Bitcoin standard from a perspective of transacting and holding Bitcoin can transact outside of the sanctions environment. They can transact outside of government controls. If the US does not have a substantial amount of Bitcoin mining onshore, they can be locked out, and US companies can be locked out of transacting their Bitcoin. So strategic ownership of block space is of a national security concern. And that's why with 40% of global Bitcoin mining in the US must maintain dominance, not just in Bitcoin mining, but also in the holding of Bitcoin assets in US companies, whether they're ETFs, whether they're Bitcoin mining companies, whether it's MicroStrategy. But the US must maintain dominance because by the same reason the US holds 40% of the gold reserves in the world, they can exert influence in financial markets. They have to do that as the world transitions to digital currencies.
Okay, it's incredibly well said. Ben, do you have anything you want to?
Exceptionally interesting. So if we can go back to me, I'll just make a few comments on that because it seems very far-fetched, doesn't it? That the US would need to adopt Bitcoin and sort of back Bitcoin miners. But if you think about the adoption of Bitcoin thus far, if that's set to continue, for example, there was some clowning of Jim Bianco, who was basically saying that the Bitcoin ETFs were a fail. Bitcoin is the fastest growing ETF in history. Okay, his point about we haven't seen boomer adoption, but I think that is still to come. And I think that's another great bullish narrative. If you think about countries Bitcoinizing and kind of continuing to sort of move away from their failing countries and sort of find a safe harbor in Bitcoin. If you look at El Salvador, if you look at, we had some news actually recently from Bitcoin Magazine. This is from the leader of Venezuelan opposition, talking about Bitcoin is a lifeline and a vital means of resistance. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here so you can see that, not just me reading it. It's not far-fetched to believe that more countries will get on the bandwagon of Bitcoin. It's very interesting that Russia recently came out and legalized Bitcoin mining. There's news about China doing the same thing. The US needs to maintain a central role in that. And what that means for me as an investor is that means investment into the various companies that are going to enable that in much the same way that the US maintains its dominance in the internet and in the digital world via, of course, companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, the largest Amazon, the largest companies in the world, the US is enabled. And I think Bitcoin miners are potentially on a very, very similar trajectory. If we look at what Trump had to say, and I know Trump's a very polarizing person, so is both political candidates are, put your biases aside as much as you can from an investment point of view, perhaps. Of course, if you are a United States citizen, just like here in the UK, I have some very strong beliefs that I won't fold on. But Trump has come out and said, a vote for Trump, Bitcoin mining may be our last line of defense against CBDCs. I think he's a little bit off there. Biden's hatred of Bitcoin only helps China, Russia, and the radical communist left. We want all the remaining Bitcoin to be made in the US. It will help us be energy dominant. And so not only have we got this narrative in regards to Bitcoin of the US needing it to maintain its role globally, certainly as Bitcoin becomes more and more important and more part of everybody's life, there's also multiple other narratives that see Bitcoin miners do well, like the fact that Bitcoin's going to be going up. Many of them hold it and it's their product. When that gets, when they start making more money on that because the price is increased, that's going to do well for the company. Also, energy. There's a good case to be made in regards to Bitcoin miners actually being good for the energy grid and good for energy more broadly. We're also bearish on oil right now. We're looking to short certainly WTI crude oil all the way down to the sort of 52s. And then I think there is the potential for broader patterns to take it down to the 30s. Now, that could be predictive of potentially a Trump president. Who knows? But in regards to Bitcoin miners, there's every reason to be bullish on them, certainly in regards to what the CEO of Marathon just highlighted relating to the US's dominance around the world and why Bitcoin miners are a part of that and going to become more a part of that, and also the holding of Bitcoin. So it seems very far-fetched when we talk about, the US adopting Bitcoin, but it's actually not that far-fetched. We've seen them have to adopt technologies multiple times, and Bitcoin, I think, is no different. They're going to adopt crypto more broadly, but certainly Bitcoin in regards to its kind of role at the moment and the broader role that it's going to play. And I want to look at some miners with you. We do have a miner in the Patreon that we think is going to give altcoin-like returns. So do check out the Patreon, consider becoming one. But if we look at miners and sort of Bitcoin mining stocks, also on the topic of miners, there's this real AI narrative with miners. Lots of people aren't talking about that. AI is compute intensive. You know, we hear this sort of deep in thing thrown around. We're very bullish on the deep in sector, but actually Bitcoin is the first deep in network. It's a decentralized computing network. That is very plain and simply all it is. It's computers. At one point, I could have done it off this laptop, although this laptop wouldn't have existed when that was the case. It could get nowhere near it now. That you all contribute towards a network and you help to maintain and validate and run a distributed ledger. So Bitcoin was really the first idea of decentralized computing, and all these miners really are is big computing centers. That's all they really are. And you can use that compute, and they're all very good at finding cheap energy for enabling AI. Look at what Sam Altman had to say in regards to chips and how he reckons we need $7 billion to enable the world of tomorrow in regards to AI and get it to be fully scalable. AI is going to be extremely compute hungry. I think there's a crossover. We've seen some Bitcoin miners actually come out and talk about this. And this is, of course, Iris Energy. This is a great chart. So our prediction for this is $47.53. We've spoken about this on many daily market updates. This was a sort of $1-2 stock for us in regards to accumulation. And you can see breakout, retest, ready for that continuation. All miners are positioned very much in the same manner. So you can't help but be pretty damn bullish on Bitcoin miners. This is marathon. What you're seeing is a repeat of what we've already seen. You can see the prior bull market, the price prediction that we had for marathon. You can see just how well that was interacted with. And you can see where we are today. Basing, breaking out, ready for that upside continuation. It aligns with Bitcoin. It aligns with the macro picture. It aligns with everything. That's part of the beautiful thing that we do here on Allincrypto is we can cross-analyze the markets. And we're going to have to throw this in here, guys. When it walks, talks, and quacks like a duck, it is a duck. Hut 8, not one of the prettiest miners, but I do think it's going to fix itself and likely could be on a run to $84. Obviously, for Marathon, we're looking at potential $116. Certainly, if we see some of what the CEO of Marathon was talking about playing out. And again, that's one reason. There's many reasons to be bullish on miners. Of course, Bitcoin going up is a big one. Miners will overperform. Bitcoin having quite a nice move today. I'm just watching on the charts. So maybe lucky Friday 13th for us. Hut 8, again, not one of the strongest ones, but I do think this fixes itself. This has got a $84.60 price prediction. Riot's one of the weaker ones for sure. I thought this would have done more here. It hasn't, but I do think this is still very much base and is looking for that upside. Probably going to do some sort of a double bottoming before looking for that further continuation. We don't have a price prediction of this one. Obviously, we spoke about TeraWulf. So TeraWulf, sorry, we were on Iris when we were looking at the prices here. TeraWulf is one that me and many of my patrons have been on since the sort of $1 to $2 range, certainly with this consolidation period. At one point, this went all the way up to $6.66. We've got a $26 price prediction for it. And just because we have these price predictions, there's absolutely the room for overperformance, but this is what we can technically give you. So TeraWulf, more of a smaller one. I think these guys have had quite a lot to say. Lots of volume coming in here. It's great to see it. Something like Core Scientific. We don't have any price predictions for this, but you can see just how strong this has been. And this is likely going to be breaking out into new all-time highs. This is Bitfarms Limited. Let's take a bigger view on this. Basing. This is your basing structure, and this is your continuation. This is an uptrend, very much still intact. You're likely going to see higher prices for this. This, to me, looks like a bit of an inverted head and shoulders. You know, is there potential to see, you know, new all-time highs on the back end of this? It's possible. It looks much the same as many others. Of course, we've got Argo Blockchain PLC, very much basing. I think this is a UK company, actually, so it'd be good for us to get behind some of the UK companies out there. If there are any people that are in touch with Bitcoin miners or any of the sorts on the channel and you want to bring them on the show, we have ventured out. We're going to be starting our interviews up again in the podcast. We've got great guests coming on, some of the biggest in the crypto space. So do become a subscriber for all that. And then, of course, you've got the likes of Bit Digital. You can see what we're showing you here. Very much basing, looking for upside continuation. I think this is Northern Data AG. So this is another these guys aren't just specifically Bitcoin mining, but more broadly. So when we look at the sort of Bitcoin mining space, if we can get the camera back on me, it's a very bullish. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish on it, massively. Again, going back to what Marathon Digital CEO had to say, but more broadly, the price of Bitcoin's going up. They're likely going to go up. Technically, we see a lot of confluence in regards to the Bitcoin miners and how they're positioned, and we have a lot of higher technical targets for them. Something like MicroStrategy likely going to continue to do well. If you think about the AI narrative with these kind of compute centers, there's lots that kind of crosses over in regards to miners and lead us to sort of derive a very bullish outlook on them. Certainly, technically, importantly for us as technical analysts, we are pretty bullish. And depending on who wins the election, I think Trump is probably better for the industry, in my own personal opinion. There's going to be a massive kind of, I think, arms race in regards to Bitcoin. Let's now move on to the next topic that we have for you in this live stream, because there was some news in regards to today and Coinbase's COO actually coming out and talking about this in regards to data, AI, and blockchain. But there was news the other week that I want to re-highlight, and that is from Brian Armstrong. And the title of this piece is AIs are now paying other AIs with crypto. Seems extremely gimmicky. However, if you look at the world that we're moving towards, the ability for machines to transact with one another and the broader world is going to be of the utmost importance. And how do you enable that? Crypto is the answer. And this is just one way in which crypto is going to merge itself with the ever increasingly digital, robotic world that we're moving towards, through payments, through provenance in regards to data that these AI systems use, and every which way, through being able to restrain them, through smart contracts. They become tamper-proof. You can't essentially hack them. But let's read this piece again, because it's definitely worth highlighting. So this week at Coinbase Dev, we witnessed our first AI to AI crypto transaction. What did one AI buy from the other? Tokens, not crypto tokens, but AI tokens. Words basically from a large language model to another. They use tokens to buy tokens. Seems a little bit gimmicky, but I can assure you it's not. AI agents cannot get bank accounts, but they can get crypto wallets. They can now use USDC on Base to transact with humans, merchants, or other AIs. Those transactions are instant, global, and free. So this is huge. The reason I'm highlighting this is because I'm highlighting the opportunity with Coinbase. We've been in Coinbase since $30, $40. We think it's going to 400 plus. We'll talk about it when we dive over to the charts. There's many reasons for that. It's getting into the AI field in a big way. It is the custodian for basically every single Bitcoin spot ETF and institutional Bitcoin holdings, including the US Marshal Service, whilst the SEC wages a war on it, which they're going to lose. There's a million and one reasons to be bullish on Coinbase, and we're highlighting one big one right now in regards to their role with AI. And of course, they have a blockchain. They're one of the only public companies out there that actually has a blockchain, a public blockchain that is seeing unbelievable growth and emergence in the AI market. So this is an important step to AIs getting useful work done. Today, if you give an AI agent a task and come back to it in a few hours or days, it can't get useful work done. In part, this is a limitation of the technology itself, and products like, and he mentions a company here, are getting close to this. But the other reason is AIs can't transact to acquire the resources they need. They don't have credit cards to use AWS, GitHub, or Versal. They don't have payment methods to book you a plane ticket or hotel for your up-and-coming trip. They can't get through paywalls, for instance, to read a scientific article, promote their posts on X with a paid ad, or use the growing network of paid APIs to integrate data they need. If you're working on large language models or AI methods and you think you could benefit from having a crypto wallet, please get in touch. So this is, if you think about the world we're moving towards, AI is going to play an ever increasing role. You're going to talk to your watch and it's going to say, you're going to say, book me a flight, order this on Amazon. And it's going to be able to do all that for you without you having to do anything, because there'll be some sort of a plugin in regards to enabling the AI to do that. the new industry that is going to spawn from AI on AI purchase and commerce and data that's generated from that is going to be trillions. And crypto plays a pivotal role in all of that. It is truly exciting. There are so many elements of it. Just seems very gimmicky, AI paying another AI, but think about the arbitrage and the, like look at drop shipping and things like this. AI will do all that for you. And you'll be able to, in the same way you have people coding up like RuneScape bots or WoW bots or these kind of things, there'll be real life versions of that in regards to AI. And part of enabling that is the ability for them to transact. Crypto is that ability. It's also going to, and we're going to move on to this next article now, enable trustable data for these AI models. Crypto really does. The beautiful thing about this industry is it's often overhyped, but there is honestly an underlying fundamental transformation that crypto is bringing to the world that cannot be ignored in pretty much every field of the world and the world economy. The economy as a whole, if you look at money, that is getting fundamentally transformed with blockchain. Finance is getting fundamentally transformed with blockchain. There are so many middlemen out there that are disappearing left, right, and center. I heard a great one the other day from a music manager, and he spoke about copyrights and how you have to file for those copyrights, so on and so forth. Crypto will solve all of these issues. In regards to AI, in regards to social, look at how Macron honeypotted Pavel. Interesting. And what is he doing with Tarn? He's building a decentralized social media. It's an exciting, the fact that we're here right now at this time, and I know sometimes we're not very grateful for it because of the price action of the altcoin market. Again, stomaching that volatility is key to being successful in the crypto space and having that bigger vision, certainly technically when you've got alignment there. The fact that we're here right now, let me tell you, you are the conquerors of tomorrow. You are the Ferrari drivers, the Lambo drivers of tomorrow, guys. Sounds gimmicky, but I truly believe that based on what this technology is fundamentally going to do for the world. But let's continue on in regards to exploring the intersection of data, AI, and blockchain with Coinbase's COO. Coinbase's Chief Operating Officer, Chris Feng, discusses how on-chain data is evolving into a new asset class and how AI is reshaping the Web3 world. So we actually interviewed Origin Trails, which are doing this. They're creating a decentralized knowledge graph. Knowledge graphs are what the likes of Google and all these other things use to essentially know what to show you because they can piece things together. In a recent episode on Cointelegraph's Hashing It Out podcast, Chris, the Chief Legal Officer of Coinbase, joins their representative to discuss the evolving role of data and artificial intelligence in the blockchain ecosystem. The podcast delves into how these technologies drive new developments within the Web3 space, shedding light on the untapped potential of on-chain data as a critical asset for both industries. Feng explained how on-chain data is not just a record of transactions, but is becoming a new type of asset class. This is the amazing thing about this industry, right? Those on-chain assets have value that can actually be valuized. That's not even a word. Monetized is a better word. The word, really. And you're going to get knowledge become data. Your data, you're going to be able to monetize yourself through Web3, giving you the power of that back. This industry is far stretching, ladies and gentlemen. As Web3 grows, data from blockchains is being leveraged for more than just verifying transaction, is also providing valuable insight into fueling innovation. Feng emphasized the need for robust data infrastructure to support this shift, noting that Chainbase is building an ecosystem where developers can work with high quality data, driving more precious applications in the Web3 environment. So this is pretty huge. There's a massive kind of crossover with AI and blockchain. And ultimately, the data that's been, in much the same way that the data on the internet that's generated is valuable, the data that's going to be generated from machine to machines is going to be extremely valuable. And also the data that's generated on blockchains is also going to be monetizable and valuable. This is the world of data, guys. If you look at AI, what is AI? It's really just a data processor. I think that's a good way to look at it. A data processor that one day will be able to learn from itself, and this is where we enter things like singularity and things like this. But Coinbase, I want to dive over to their stock, is a huge opportunity. Coinbase, I also believe, along with Ripple, when they go public, will become a unicorn stock of tomorrow. And you can see our real accumulation took place down here. Obviously, we're looking at this smaller inverse head and shoulders, horrible looking right shoulder. This target was already met. At one point, it went all the way up to $283 before coming all the way down to $147. Your uptrend is still intact, and we do have that target of $413 to come. So we're very much still expecting it to get there. It's just a case of hanging in. There's not just opportunities within the crypto space and the market. There's opportunities further afield. There's opportunities with companies that are enabling the broader world, whether that be Ripple with their XRPL, or whether that be Coinbase with being an on and off ramp and an enabler in many other ways, or the Bitcoin miners. There's massive opportunities in regards to this space further afield and outside the crypto space. And this live stream's kind of been quite focused on that. I hope you're all hanging in there, guys. Remember, if you are watching, like and a comment is always greatly appreciated. It really helps us get this content to a broader audience. So we've covered Coinbase. We've covered the kind of opportunity that it offers. We've covered Bitcoin technically. There's a lot of positivity to come out of this. And of course, we've looked at Bitcoin miners and the opportunity that they, of course, offer. What I want to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is dive into some absolutely huge news in regards to XRP. Now, yesterday I did a video on XRP, and we spoke about how Brad Garlinghouse a number of months ago on Bloomberg came out, and he basically said an XRP ETF is inevitable. They were basically his words. He said not just an XRP ETF, but ETFs more broadly for the crypto space. The main barrier to entry for that is Gensler. Okay, you had news today in regards to Gensler backtracking. The SEC has done nothing but lose after lose after lose after lose, and that is going to continue. The main barrier is Gensler, the SEC. They are going to lose this war that they're waging on the crypto space, and then you're going to have firms, institutions actually look to take their piece of enabling the asset class that the cryptocurrency space will eventually become. And this is going to happen. It's going to unlock trillions in terms of value, in my opinion. I think we're going to have a cryptocurrency market in the not too distant future in the $5-6 trillion. I think eventually then it gets into the tens and solidifies itself as an industry. Certainly if it is as revolutionary as I believe it is, and it plays a role in a lot of tomorrow's world. Okay. Yesterday, you can see here, we have news from Grayscale themselves. We are proud to announce the creation of a new single asset crypto investment fund, Grayscale's XRP Trust, which will be available through private placement, available to eligible accredited investors only. Okay, now that sucks. In the UK, you actually can't even get BlackRock's IBIT. Most people don't know that because you need to be of a certain ilk of investor. You can see they then go on to say, Grayscale's trust allows investors to gain exposure to XRP, the token powering the XRP ledger, XRPL, a peer-to-peer distributed network created to help cross-border financial transactions. Learn more, see important disclosure. So we looked at this in a lot more detail yesterday. The likes of the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Mr. Eric Belanchunas, who, if you're interested in ETFs, certainly crypto ETFs, this is the guy to follow, guys. Him and James Seyfarth, absolutely phenomenal when it comes to keeping us up to date on all of this. Grayscale launching of GBTC. Grayscale launching a GBTC of XRP. So remember GBTC. One reason we knew an ETF was coming for Bitcoin was because of what we were seeing on GBTC. They were closing that discount, just like we saw with Ethereum, just like they're going to do with Solana. I actually think XRP, I'm going to make a statement here, might actually get an ETF approved before Solana, certainly with the regulatory clarity that it does have. It's the only asset including Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum. There was never any kind of legal sort of battle to get clarification on it. It was just kind of, I guess, grandfathered in. You know, there's the whole the Hinman thing. We're not going to go into that. But XRP is pretty much now the only asset with legal clarity. We'll come onto the XRP chart in just a second. But you can see Eric Belanchunas saying it's like deja vu all over again. Again, hinting at the likelihood of an XRP ETF. Now, I don't think this is the catalyst particularly to see XRP do well. It's going to be one, but there's going to be multiple in regards to the technical targets that we have for it and where we ultimately see it going. So this is huge news. Again, that's my statement here. I actually think that this XRP is further up the list in regards to having an ETF approved due to the regulatory nightmare. Sometimes things appear to be curses, but they're blessings. There's silver linings in life all the time, ladies and gentlemen. And I think this is one of them. And when we look at the XRP chart, I understand a lot of people will take a look at Bitcoin's price movement in just a second, guys, because it is doing something. I understand the frustration with you XRP holders out there and the people that have been watching from the sidelines and commenting negatively and kind of, because ultimately XRP did really nothing compared to anything else in the last bull market. However, its time is coming. You are going to break out of this big bull pennant. We've done an XRP price prediction where we talk about how we believe this is a HVF. HVF is not a method that I teach. It's a method that's taught by the crypto sniper, a guy called Francis Hunt, an absolute technical genius, somebody who I've learned a hell of a lot from, and you guys should be as well. Far better at technical analysis than I am and can hope to be, I imagine. But we spoke about how we believe this is going to get to $19.27. People will probably be laughing at this. We'll see. We said, actually, in much the same way as it's setting up from 2017, we also looked at Amazon. And we said, if you understand what Ripple and this XRP are doing for the financial world, for the remittance market, it's just like what Amazon were doing back here for commerce. People would have laughed at this and wrote it off, only for Amazon to become one of the largest companies in the world. We think XRP is on a similar trajectory, ladies and gentlemen, and we don't think you're too far from sort of reaching that. And it's, certainly given all the kind of nonsense the XRP community has had to withstand, I really want you guys to win. And we're going to be continue to bringing you all the content in regards to it. So what I want to do before we dive over to some questions from you guys is talk a little bit about what Bitcoin's price is currently doing. And we're going to drop down time frame. We didn't really go into this bull flag. However, we can cover it. It's not going to be long before you break out of this September. Wake me up when September ends, guys. It's coming to an end. And ultimately, we're going to see a sort of a breaking of this pattern, this pattern getting resolved, likely with Bitcoin dominance rolling, likely with the real bull market taking place. But you can see Bitcoin, if we drop down a smaller time frame, which we don't like to do, making its way up. You're kind of shouldering, if you will, and looking for some upside here. So we shall see. Really importantly, getting past this sort of midpoint, which is pinned you as resistance, is going to be important. Once you're on the right side of that, we can work towards broader continuation to the upside. So what we're going to do, guys, is take some of your questions. The ones I can answer, we will. Remember, we're not a financial advisor, so please don't ask me any kind of financial advice questions. So if we can dive back to me. Let's get into some questions. And I'm just going to check my tablet here for those questions. So if there are any questions, guys, please do fire away. We'll probably have to get the questions over on Discord, Egon. Okay. Fantastic. Hey, ALLIN. You predict XRP to go to $19.27. What's your timeline for this prediction? Great question. And the truthful answer is, we'll dive back over to the charts. This could take a while. Okay? It could also not. So I would love to say to you right now that XRP, and we think the bull market's likely going to go on till the back end of 2025. I would love to say to you that you're going to make that by then. And it is possible. Certainly if you look at what took place previously, there's a number of reasons why XRP might see this kind of price action once again. If you look at the amount of XRP that is out there, it is few and far between. Retail has, I think it's 1 point something % of XRP. The vast majority of it is held more institutionally. And that liquidity or supply and demand imbalance could see it do some pretty insane things. The turning off on and the usage of it could see it doing some pretty insane things. The ETF causing that supply demand imbalance could see it do some pretty insane things. But the truth is, this pattern has been setting up since 2018 and could take, and this isn't my base case, this is my worst case, as long as this pattern has been taking its time to form, to essentially play out once it's broken, which is, we're going to know, is once you take 94 cents. So it could take years to play out. My best guess, and this isn't a guarantee, don't take this to the bank, is that this is likely going to play out before, well within that time period, and you're going to see this kind of movement in the same way that you did pre-2000 or going into 2017 once again. And that this is, you could see that night, and it sounds crazy, guys, and if we get this right, we're going to look like an absolute hero, and that's what we're hoping for. You could see that $19.27, not financial advice, just my own opinion, potentially on the back end of 2025 going into 2026. Providing things go the way that we think they are going to. It doesn't need to take a great deal of time. Certainly with euphoria, with everything going on, things start going their way, you get really good news behind it. So my worst case scenario is it takes as long, or can take as long, as the pattern took to form to take place. Amazon really had a really slow grind up after it sort of did a similar thing. My best case is that it takes place within this cycle. And I don't think that is unachievable. And actually, I'd say that's more my base case than my best case. So that's my take on that. Let's dive over to another question. Market's doing quite well. I wonder if there's any news come out. So if we can go back to me. Okay, that's not me. Thoughts on BTC projects like Stacks, Ordinals, Runes, etc. Should do well following strong BTC narrative. Yeah, I agree. If that's your game, that's your game. We like to stick to what we know, and that's not my game, unfortunately. I dabbled in NFTs, like I'm sure many of you guys did in 2021. It wasn't the most profitable endeavor for me, and still I hold a lot of those NFTs. I do not know too much about Stacks, Ordinals, Runes, but if you think you do, and you can get in the, you're in those circles that know what they're doing, and you know what you're doing with them, the Bitcoin narrative is going to do well. I'm sure many of them will. However, pick the right ones, do your research on that sort of stuff. It's not my game. The only thing I can say as a general statement is they're likely going to do well because they're likely going to do well because of obviously the Bitcoin narrative. So if that's your game, by all means. For us, it's not something we're too knowledgeable on. And we always will say, look, if we don't know something, I'll hold my hands up and say, look, guys, it's not my game. I can't really comment in regards to specifically these individual vehicles. But more broadly, if Bitcoin's going to do well, it's likely they will, right? Providing they don't just turn out to be nothing burgers. Thoughts on Algo? You think it will be above $1? Has your price estimate on Algo changed? I don't really think we ever gave an Algorand price prediction for this bull market. I think we gave a short-term outlook. Let's pull up an Algo chart. I don't really think I have. Do you know one thing I can say about Algorand, and you're not going to like me for this if we dive over to the chart, is it's been one of the weaker cryptos. And that's a fact from a price point of view. But does that mean that it's not going to perform into the future? I don't really have a price prediction for Algorand. I can just give you maybe some sort of a potential technical roadmap that it may follow. You may do something like a double bottom here and then look to make your way up to very rough here, guys, some sort of a target that this will give you. And then you could potentially set up broader structure and continue up. So, I mean, could it go above $1? On a non-financial advisory basis, because we're not a financial advisor, in my opinion, I think it's quite likely. Given the fact that the bull market that we're going to be in, Algorand is not going to be not a part of. We've been so lucky in the fact that John Wood has given us his time on multiple occasions. We'll get him back on the show, guys. Hopefully, Stacey, all the Algorand lot, if you're an Algorand project out there and you want to come on, do get in touch with us. Algorand is a great, great project. It's one of the best layer ones out there. For a number of different reasons. I just love the fact that their security mechanism is randomness. Algorithm and randomness is how you get the word Algorand. Because how can you attack something when you don't know where it's going to go? It's extremely scalable. The Algo kit that they released is brilliant, certainly for developers, and part of bringing people online is through developers. If you look at who brought the millions and billions to the internet, it was the people that built the applications that we all now use and love. There's a number of reasons to be fundamentally bullish on Algorand. From a price point of view, what I can tell you is it's been a lame duck. However, that could change. We want to see that change thus far. The altcoin market, again, is really where it should be in regards to these cycles. Could I see this doing some sort of a double bottom? That's going to take you close to $1, and then you're likely going to set up a broader continuation. Potentially, that's just my own take. There's nothing there concrete to give you at the moment. But it could is the best answer I can give. So we shall see. So I don't know if there's any more questions. If you want to dive back over to me, let's take a look. I'm sure there will be more. Here we go. Liam, could institutional adoption mean that that this is the end of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle and the crypto cycles? Great question. And I'm getting sort of nervous about answering that because I previously thought, I actually honestly believed, guys, that we were going to see a bit of a super cycle last cycle. I was in that camp and we didn't. We pivoted very quickly, luckily, and got out for the majority of 2022's downside. But always expect the same. We got a fellow Brummy in the house I can see here. Always expect the same thing. Always expect the thing that has been playing out to play out until you get signs that it's not going to. It's very plausible, however, that with institutional adoption, the great thing, I want to show you something on this, actually. We're going to go and check out gold. So if we go to gold and we look at a monthly time frame, we ignore the sort of shorter patterns that we have. Gold got its first ETF around here. I think 2004 was when you had your first gold ETF. And you can see the broader trajectory that it went on. Is something like that coming for BTC and thus the cryptocurrency space more broadly? I think the S&P, let's use the S&P 500, had its first ETF. I think it was I'm not sure what we're trying to highlight here, 1994. And then look at the broader trajectory it went on. So is there the possibility that with institutional interest, the 4-year cycles are now null and void? Potentially, but don't bet on that. Bet on what's happened. Bet on the fact that we're continuing to follow it right now. And if, for example, we find ourselves in 2026 and it's still ripping, you know, the cycles have kind of gone out the window. It's kind of like Plan B stock to flow. All those on-chain analysts got wrecked. He'll probably make a comeback at some point and say, "I'll see this was just a blip in the model or whatever." But go with what's more probable. And what's more probable, which is what we do as technical analysts, is that the 4-year cycles continue, or there's at least an element of the halving that plays out and is, of course, the drive behind the cycles. Expect continuation of that. Let's go back to me and we'll answer another question. We'll answer another couple questions, guys. By the way, we'll make this go on for an hour or so. Would you trust USDC or USDT for profits? Great question. Which one do I think is... So USDT, even though I'm not into this whole camp of, you know, they're going to be the black swan, I think USDC is probably a more legitimate bet. Not that I'm a hater of USDT, because I think they've done wonderful things. I was having a great conversation with a trader the other day who was saying, if you look at most crypto trading pairs and derivatives and products, they're all in USDT. So that's the liquidity pool for these products. Wait until USD and the Forex market starts to stop pairing with them and more officially enabled. Bit of a sidebar. But for me, if you look at Circle, you look at Coinbase, we spoke very highly of Coinbase just. USDC would be something I'd probably perhaps go into. Remember, Ripple's Real USD is coming soon. I would wager they're going to be championed big time. Just the name Real USD, for the same reasons that if you look at why the US backs big companies like Google, Amazon, it's to further their endeavors across the world. Stablecoins is a massive endeavor. The fact that Tether is a non-US company that operates outside jurisdictions, we've seen them come under a lot of scrutiny. I think just on the basis of a safer bet, USDC is the one for me. It's a lot less liquid, doesn't have as much liquidity, but given some of the parameters in regards to USDT, I think USDC is safer. But of course, do your own research on that. Is crypto pumping right now? Let's take a look. The thing is with crypto, because it moves 2-3% in a matter of hours, I don't know if it's pumping, but it's doing well. We've got a long way to go. We've got to get out of here. These moves have been, it's no wonder the altcoin market has just got smashed. You know, we'll put, you know, one of my favorite altcoins, HBAR. We don't make any bones about this being one of our favorites. Lots of people coming on from HBAR. It moves just like Bitcoin. The only problem is it's not showing the strength Bitcoin's shown, and it's just capitulated under it, like the rest of the altcoin market. But yeah, crypto is doing quite well right now. Shall we take a look at why this is? You want to unlock the 1 to 100x challenge, guys, do become a patron. Also, my portfolio. But if we look at my watch list, which we've got lots of coins on, dollar is rolling. We're just waiting for dollar to break its resistance and continue on the further downside. So it's not the dollar that's causing this. I wonder how the equity market's doing. Gold up today, Tesla down. We gave a $505 price prediction for Tesla, by the way. If you're interested, do go and watch that video. Yeah, crypto doing quite well. Might be some news. It might be some SEC news. Who knows? Quick look at BTC Dom. This shall fall. When? I don't know. Soon, I would imagine. Let's go back to me and answer some more questions. Hi, mate. Very off topic. What are you thinking about HBAR at the moment? One of the best position layer ones in the entire cryptocurrency space. Price action's been lackluster, though, and it hasn't quite shown the strength that others have. However, I think that's to come. And I don't want to say who told me this, but I do have some perhaps insider information in regards to big announcements that are going to be coming soon. We will be diving into that and talking about that more broadly. But even when you look at HBAR, it's not such a bad picture. If we dive over and we take a look at HBAR and we take the draws off that we've got, this is just basing. This is still very much basing and likely going to see continuation. You know, this is just a phase one base. You've got phase two to come. It's not going to, and this will overperform at times and underperform at times, which is what we're seeing. Let's see if there are any more questions. I saw one about dead coins. Let's have a look here. So if you were getting out of dead coins, which cheap coins would you recommend? Be careful calling coins dead, because you'd be surprised how, unless you're talking about Litecoin, you'd be surprised how things can sort of change in regards to dead coins. Something like XRP, people will call a dead coin, might be one of the best performers. Certainly, if we look at institutional inflows, they're going to come for a lot of those more boring coins and the higher market cap coins that people would call dead. For example, I haven't shared this with you guys, but we have a price prediction on BNB, right? People forget about BNB. I mean, this is nearly at New York Times. This is one of the strongest coins that there is in the game right now, from a sort of where it is relative to everything. You know, this is, you're looking at a $2,650 and $74 price prediction for this. It's made our first target, put a toe above it. Again, remember what we looked at, what you do when you get to all-time highs. So you might see a lot of dead coins come to life. Coins I'm really interested in, without going into any specifically, are things like decentralized computing. I have a very large mining position with one specific miner. However, I do own TeraWolf and quite a few of the others. Deep in AI, you know, I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the fact I own Fetch. And I own a lot of other AI plays. And I own some great layer ones and quite a lot of coins. But Deepin's big for me in terms of actual decentralized computing, decentralized storage. We've made a video on Arweave. That was 600% up for us at one point since we got back into the market. Not quite there today, I can say, after this brutal pullback, but it will get there and beyond, I believe, in the future, in my opinion. Let's take a few more questions, guys. Go back to me, and we shall look to wrap the video off. NEAR or ICP? ICP for me, but NEAR is doing some really cool things. We're hoping to get some people on from the NEAR sort of foundation on to talk to us. Jasmy. Yeah, I looked at Jasmy earlier today. Jasmy, in my opinion, is in an uptrend, just having a bit of a pullback. Oh, no, not somebody from Wolves. I support the opposite football team to Wolves, West Brom. So, but I won't hold that against anyone. Got to say Wolves are doing significantly better, but okay then, guys. We've gone on for an hour and 5 minutes. We'll be doing a lot more of these, so if you didn't get your any thoughts on Velo? Yeah, Velo recently did quite well. Helium looks great as well. Lots of people writing off Helium. I think it looks pretty good. We're going to wrap the stream up there, guys. We're going to be doing a lot more of these on a far more frequent basis. And really, these are about covering everything that's taken place previously. You know, in the previous week. Friday streams are going to be about looking what's happening in the previous week, what we found interesting, and coming on and sharing that with you, and hopefully sharing some opportunities that are out there in not just the crypto space, but more further afield. So what I want to do finally, guys, if you haven't already given us a like and a comment, please do so. I'm going to love and leave you. Have a fantastic Friday. Behave. I'm going to go and get some food now. But it's always a pleasure. I'll see you all in tomorrow's daily market update, and we'll see you in the future. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you all in the next video.